Hello! Good evening. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're having a wonderful year. I hope you're having a wonderful new year. Hope everything's going good for you. It is officially a new year. And that's just the way time works. Whoa. We'll just leave that unconnected for now. I don't need it to charge while I'm drawing. It'll be fine. I'm not going to hit 0% during the stream, hopefully. Time keeps on ticking into the future. All right, so it's gonna be an easy start tonight. I'm gonna do a little warming up because I have not been drawing the last couple of hours. I've been just working on some other stuff, mostly nothing real important, really. But I just need to do a little bit of warm up to get my hand in the right place. So that's what I'm going to start with. Do what we call the primals. The primal shapes are cube, sphere, cone, pyramid. And they're good to warm up on because they're good things to know how to control in space. You can draw a cube. You can draw anything, right? Like that's the whole idea behind Drawbox. Drawbox.com. But it's just also a good way to just kind of get that hand working towards something in the future. Just get your hand going. Little cones to make horns on rhinoceroses. Just a little something to get something going. Just get it going. Just get it going. Anyway, tonight we've got one drawing left to draw. We are left to basically get started with the hippo going to nursing school. I'm gonna go ahead and update the currently drawing to that hippo nursing student, and then once we get that done, we don't know what we're gonna be working on from there. There is literally nothing on the wheel right now, so who knows? It's anybody's game. Anybody who can come in and ask me to draw them a thing, I'll draw it. So why don't I go ahead and get started? Hippo nursing school student. So one thing I don't want to do is go too crazy here. Right now, the other characters, although cartoonish, kind of make sense in their physiology. So like the quadrupedal creature is quadrupedal and the other creatures are within the confines of their body shape, basically. And I kind of like that. I kind of like the way that aesthetic is looking. I'm just pulling up some hippopotamus reference art. That's how I do. I don't like to draw from scratch. Psh. So what I have to ask myself is like, how are we going to put a hippo in scrubs? And also, is there like nurse student scrubs? I feel like in my life, the scrubs that nurses wear are a lot less uniform than the scrubs that doctors wear in green. But apparently, they must be dark green, which must be spruce, forest, or hunter green. Huh. I did not know that. So apparently nursing students have to wear dark green scrubs, and that's helpful. That's good to know. That gives us an action we can go with here for like showing that this is a nursing student. That hippo is still learning to be a nurse. This hippo is still exploring the world of nursing, very new to the profession. Just wants to help people. So I'm gonna go. Hippo heads are kind of weirdly shaped. They've got like a big dumpy upper head and a big dumpy lower head. Face nose. So a little something like that. Little piggy ears. I'm gonna have her looking directly at the camera here. Why? Because the hippo I am looking at for my reference art is looking more or less directly at the camera. And that makes my life easier when I just use the reference art. Hippos are kind of cute. I'm not gonna lie. They're kind of cute creatures. Also, this head could probably stand to be bigger. Hippos are big. They have big old noggins. A little bulgy action here. What else are iconic nursing student like accoutrement? Nurse student accoutrement. There's an entire section of Etsy dedicated to nursing student accessories. Let's see. All right. Do all of these are nursing student gifts? These are gift guides for nursing students. I guess that we can start there. That gives us an idea of what at least other people think nursing students actually need. Because right now we've got navy green scrubs and not the worst place we could be, but also not the best. So we'll go kind of a hippo body shape here. Hey, thank you very much. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the channel. Hope you're having a great time. We are drawing right now. I'm working on the very last of the January Patreon stickers. And then I will open up the random wheel, the wheel of random suggestions. So thanks for joining us, basically. Yeah. I'm just kind of sketching, rough sketch of a hippo, and then I'll try working it into being a nurse. Our theme for January, what we're working on here, is a sticker pack for the Patreon members. They're the Stampede resolutions. They're all animals that have New Year's resolutions to work on. Do hippos have tails? Not that can be seen from this perspective. Okay, so this is my rough hippo body, right? This is from here. We have to turn this hippo into a nursing student. That's the challenge of a good character design challenge like this. So we know that nursing students wear dark green scrubs. So let's go ahead and start with some scrubs. Okay, here's the fun part. Do we give this hippo nurse a full set of scrubs, tops and bottoms, or is this hippo Winnie the Poohing it? Like, do we just assume this hippo is not wearing any pants at all? Just leave no pants. I'm thinking it might be fun to go no pants on this design. Pretty cartoonish. It's fine. No pants will work. So let's do tops, scrubs top. Let's see. Do a little stethoscope hanging around the neck. That'll be fun. Oops, I want that line. I want these lines to be used. This is just a real rough sketch coming in here, so not a big deal. I think maybe a cool head thingy. I don't know if there's an official term for the bandana that some people wear with their scrubs. I don't know if there's an official term for that, but she's getting a nurse bandana. And then maybe we come in here and pile of textbooks. Maybe that's another direction we go here. Textbooks. I need a box first. Just box in. We'll turn it into textbooks later. Just trying to get composition for now. What else? What else can we do to say this is a nursing student? This is a Hippo student nurse. Don't know for sure exactly what I'm looking for here. I don't want to go super like old school, but I guess we could. I'm inclined to avoid like stereotypes in a lot of my work, so like probably not going to have this nurse wearing a nurse's outfit, like a nurse's costume, like actual scrubs, actual nurse. These are books. Just make them look a little bit more like books for the sketch while I'm thinking through what else can go on. Oh, and Fresca is already frozen up for the night. That's a good start. That's a good start to the night. I'm not even into the vector art yet. Okay, so I think I'm gonna just leave this as is for now, and let's detail this. Let's do some little detail work, and maybe I'll look at it as a hippopotamus. Now that I've got my hippo layout, my hippo shape, we'll see how some other people have done some hippo design work. I know I want this nose to basically be just a big hippo nose. It's gonna actually downplay it even more. I think I'm gonna go little ridges. Little ridges for the nose here. Smile, you're a nurse. Do hippos have that thingy in the middle of their face where their noses are kind of pointy? They do. They have kind of pointy lip noses things. So give them one of those. And then a lot of people, okay, this is what I find interesting. A lot of cartoon hippos I've seen have teeth coming down from the top, like big buck teeth. But I'm looking at this actual picture of a hippo with its mouth open, and hippos don't really have big buck teeth. They have tusks. And you know me, I like a creature with tusks, but I don't feel like it's appropriate necessarily for this image. I do want to try to make these eyes look happier. I've kind of drawn them in, sketched them in like roughly the realistic shape, and that's not necessarily happy eyes for me. So we'll try to do happier eyes. Nurses are compassionate people. Actually, let's see. Compassionate eyes. What do compassionate eyes look like? Trying to make compassionate eyes here. Like, this feels like compassionate eyes. Also, it feels like I might make you an offer you can't refuse. So maybe the opposite of compassionate eyes. I don't know for sure what I'm trying to accomplish here. I want a sympathetic hippo face. I'm not entirely sure. Am I just now discovering that maybe I'm not very good at reading people's facial expressions? Am I bad at that? Am I a little on the scale, on the spectrum? Sympathetic face. I don't know what a sympathetic expression is. This is my best chance express. I'm sorry that you're going through this. That sucks. Yeah, that feels right. Been meaning to find your channel as I've been seeing it popping up in my feed since you left me in Montana. I'm sorry I left you in Montana. I hope you're having a good time though. Hope you had a good New Year's Eve. I'm trying to figure out what sympathetic eyes look like on a hippo. I think that's the art challenge of the night. So yeah, I can't. It's crazy to me that I've already been back in Missouri for over a year. Well, I'm glad you were able to find me though. I have been trying to advertise. One problem is that my social media stuff under my personal social media stuff kind of got hacked and had to be shut down around the same time that I moved back here. Little piggy ear on this hippo. And you'll have to forgive me. I'm not super familiar with your username, so I'm not entirely sure exactly who you are. Hope you are enjoying it down there and finding it less stress-inducing than DOR was at times. It definitely has been in some ways. Yes, it's been better for my mental health in some ways. In some ways, it's been a little trying in others. You know, it's just different stuff. I have a better support network down here, so dealing with some of my mental health issues is a little easier down here. And honestly, it's really good for me to be out of even a politically adjacent position. That has been really good for me the last year or so. But in other ways, there's a lot of other weird stressors, you know. Oh, hey! Okay, how's it going, man? Uh, how are you doing surviving? Are you still at DOR? Are you surviving out there with some of the changes I saw happening as I was leaving? I guess that change probably just preceded you leaving, if I recall. Yeah, you were being merged over into IT as I was leaving. I remember that. How is everything still going out over there? I was actually doing good, still in the same position. Okay. I was actually talking about you over uh Christmas dinner because we were talking about some low code no code kind of stuff and LLM learning stuff like that. Changes haven't affected me too much other than moving everyone over from Microsoft into ServiceNow. Yeah. Yeah, God forbid you maintain uh award-winning system for more than a year. Yeah, I actually have a friend who is doing a tech startup on node-based internet recall or protocols. And I was like, hey, if you get to a certain point, I know someone who might be able to freelance as an analyst that might be able to help you out. doing a lot of ServiceNow development. I you know what's crazy is I actually did not renew my Office 365 membership this year. I decided to go entirely with like LibreOffice and just go open source. Not that I really do anything important anymore. Spreadsheets to track finances. Oh, I definitely will. Yeah, I will definitely put you in touch if he gets to that stage. They're currently pitching for venture capital, so that might come or might not. We'll see how they get. But I thought it might be a project that would be right up your alley. Some of the stuff that they're wanting to work on. And then at Christmas, my nephew's friend was at our house, and we were talking about blockchain technology and ways it could be used outside of like cryptocurrency and NFTs, and use that same technology in really interesting and innovative ways. And was talking about how you had a lot of ideas when we were working together at Department of Revenue. Doing some freelance the last couple of days, helping an old friend that started his own business last year navigate through some Power BI stuff for one of his clients. I probably should be doing more of that stuff in my spare time on like pulling up some Odesk or something and seeing what I can do. But I realized very quickly early last year when I started working on my own that I get a lot of anxiety attacks when I try to do cold calling. So I would have to do something like an Odesk kind of like freelance for hire kind of situation. And then I managed to sell enough art to not go destitute, so that was fun. Now I'm glad you didn't find me last week because I admitted something that will shock you probably too. Wendy came by the stream, so it shocked her. I'm considering buying a Mac Mini. The new M4 Mac Minis have finally done something I don't think Apple has done in 40 years, which is create a computer that the hardware is worth paying the price for. I'm glad that all of that Power BI work that you did isn't going to waste. I will do it as soon as I have money. Hey Paraman, how's it going? I hope you're having a good New Year's Day. Are you ready to head back to work? I don't think I'll regret it either. My only real complaint about Apple was always that they thought their prices, their products were worth more than they are. If there is one thing that Macs might actually be better at, if you understand it, is animation style stuff. That's probably true. Bin cleaning. I have been trying to give myself a little bit of a break day today. Yesterday I woke up with a migraine and was off all day and just forced myself to get work done. And if I'm being honest, New Year's is not a great time for my mental health. My lines are really scraggly tonight. I'm going to actually clean this layer over and start over. Yes and no. I have no interest in going back to work, but I'm definitely ready to get the paycheck at the end of the month. that is how I feel. I've been sitting here waiting for a phone call to get hours to go to work at a job that I don't necessarily even want to do, but could use the extra money in between markets. Yeah, that's literally the reason I've been looking at it also is I've really been looking at getting into more animation work. Probably even investing some into like going fully into like a Toon Boom or Open Tunes, like professional animation software environment. One of the things I've been looking at is it's the new year. So it's a good time to look at what you've been doing and figure out if it's helping you achieve your goals. And I was like, nothing I've been doing has been helping my business really grow and scale the way I need it to, outside of just going straight to people and being like, hey, have a free sticker. So that's one of the things I've been really trying to figure out is like, believe it or not, marketing an art business that sells stickers is very different than marketing government programs. That's what I keep telling myself. Use the money from the job I don't want to do the fun work I do. Yeah. If you do or don't, I've been trying to get more into game development stuff. I might need some animations if I get a game along that far. Keep me in mind, like I said, I have not been working in Blender at all because honestly, my Razer laptop has just not held up well, so I haven't had a lot of success running most bigger software bigger file sizes. Really is the problem. Like even DaVinci Resolve in Linux gives me trouble if my file sizes get too big. But I always wanted to be a cartoon, so I figured it's time for me to explore what that means further. Hello, human robot. Welcome to the stream. Are you a cyborg, as in a human who is also a robot, or are you an android, as in a robot that is also a human? The deep philosophical conversations of the night. So anyone who's new to the stream and is wondering what we're working on, I am working on the January Patreon sticker pack. Every month I do 5 to 6 stickers for my Patreon patrons, and include an art print. And it's all, that theme is all brainstormed live. I'm the 15th person to ask you if you're a cyborg or an android. I suddenly feel incredibly unclever. The themes are all collaboratively picked, brainstormed on the stream with my Patreon patrons. The January theme for this year is animals with New Year's resolutions. And we are working on the last sticker of that pack. Is a hippo who is going to medical school, or nursing school specifically. And once I get this character design work done, I will open up the Wheel of Random Requests and draw whatever is on the wheel. Right now, actually, I will admit, right now the wheel is empty. I specifically did a stream last week to empty the wheel before the end of the year to start the wheel over of the beginning of the year. So any art requests that go into the chat right now will get added to the wheel. Everything stays on the wheel till it gets drawn. And that's basically the way that works. Leaning towards doing some initial development on a bullet hell game like Vampire Survivors with my own twist on the roguelike progression system for this type of game. You know, who would be a good person to maybe talk to about that? And I'm gonna throw him out there and he can respond because he's in chat. Paramin is my older brother. Worked as a game designer in the industry for a while, so he might be able to help you work through some of those details. Paramin Zambaro is a person I worked with at Department of Revenue, worked with on a lot of projects, who really knows systems, just in general. After you started sharing all your zombies, I really like the art style and have a couple of different thoughts on how to incorporate them into the game. Oh, cool. That's actually one of the things I was brainstorming today, was like how to what type of content I was brainstorming what would be the best way for me to deliver stuff I like to the people who like it. That's how I'm going to rephrase that, because the content word gets a bad rap. And I think I was like, I've always liked the idea of being a cartoon. I always wanted to be a cartoon. I've taken any opportunity I can to work on cartoons. Some of them very bad. And I was like, maybe I'll start trying to work on like maybe a story time type of thing. Maybe using the zombie as my avatar. If I had $1 every time someone told me they were working on a Vampire Survivor clone, I'd finally have enough money to work on my Vampire Survivor clone. That being said, all the best with your game. I can understand that sentiment. And I can tell you, if I was the one saying it, you'd have a grain of salt that. I also have a tendency to quit projects on my own 90% of the way through completion. Yeah, you need a project manager. We know how that path goes. These days, all of my friends who work in tech are engineers or developers, and they are very vocal about how they feel about their project managers. And I'm always like, oh man, you guys, you know who I am. Mine is less of a clone, just a more recognizable example of a bullet hell style. I don't use clone as a pejorative, just as a shorthand. Yeah, I think we all, yeah, that's fair. That's like, I get that. I understand what you're saying. I think that's a fair, like, because I've never, here, I'm gonna throw this out. I've never played zombie or Vampire Survivor, but I've played a lot of Vampire Survivor clones, and I will use that as saying literally Vampire Survivor reskinned with different art. But I've played some other bullet hells. I'm not very good at them, and they stress me out, so they're not exactly my type of video game. I don't play a lot of video games these days. Mostly just Legend of Eidolon. Idle games. Games that play themselves. That's my type of video game. Legend of Eidolon is the one I play primarily. I did recently finally play Outer Worlds. I think in general, individually developed games and projects are basically finished at a very low rate. That's probably true. I think one of the reasons for that is probably because people underestimate the resources it takes to create a game. I don't know that I've ever done any kind of research into that. I am definitely not the brother with experience in the industry, but I feel like that's one of those things that on paper, it looks like you would be able to do it relatively simply because there's a lot of tools available nowadays. I'm saying a lot tonight. There's a lot of ability to work on the projects, but I don't necessarily think there's a lot of like knowledge of the logistics that go into a project of that scale. Although talking to probably the one person I know who would have crunched those numbers before even thinking about doing a project. I have in the past thought about working on my own little Unity game, partially because I get into a manic state and then just want to work on a project that's different than everything else I'm working on. And I always thought doing a Smeech-based Flappy Birds clone would be fun. They are finished rarely and published far more rarely. Or if they are like me, I could complete a game that is an MVP, but I wouldn't let anyone ever see it until I spent way too much extra time making it my version of perfect. Guess that's just something I have to overcome. That's another reason you need a project manager to enforce your MVP. Currently working on a ripoff of Hyper Light Breaker, but more of a shooter. I'm not familiar with that game, so you'll have to explain it to me. That's not a, again, I am not the gamer in this family. See, I'm a younger brother, and I grew up being forced to watch my older brother play video games all the time. And now I'm in my 40s, and most of my exposure to video games is still when I watch my older brother play video games on his live stream. I'm not even, I used to be a pretty avid Final Fantasy 14 player, but when I moved back to Missouri a year ago, I quit playing Final Fantasy 14 also. That's really when I started playing Legend of Eidolon hardcore. And haven't really looked back. Like I said, I haven't really played any other video games. I finally played Outer Worlds that I've owned for ever this year, but that was even back. I realized Steam did my year in review, and I realized I played Outer Worlds back in March. More of a like a strafer shooter, like Ultra Killer Dusk. Okay. It is easier than ever now, though, because you can buy assets rather than needing to have a team doing everything. I wrote design docs like crazy, but I didn't program. My programmers couldn't do art assets, and even when we had all of that done, we had to hire a third-party composer to do music and sound. Yeah. That's kind of the stuff I was talking about when I was like, I don't think people realize all of the logistics involved in making a video game. That there is so many different moving parts to it. It's one of the things I will, so you asked me earlier, we were talking about like things that are different for me now that I'm not dealing with the stress of working at DOR. One of the things I miss is having a person outside of myself that could help me plan out the projects I was working on and put together that plan. Because even though I think of myself as being fairly decent at doing that, it is a lot harder to do that for yourself than it is to do it for other people. If Taco Viking Studios ever becomes a multi-million-dollar social media studio or a multimedia studio, we are hiring a project manager or 10. I think though in animation and multimedia you call them producers. I don't know exactly what a producer's role is a lot of the time. I know a lot in TV the producers are writers who got a producer's credit so they can make more money. But I assume that a producer is like a project manager. Just wishlisted Hyper Light Breaker. Gives me serious Risk of Rain 2 vibes with more of an MMO or survival style. Either way, looks like something worth giving a try. I suck at video games. So any game that requires skill is probably not one for me. I do a pretty good job of telling my little Eidolon dudes where to go, but they use their own skills and fight their own monsters. I don't actually have to tell them how to fight the boss. They just do it. So, you know, how these things go. I am not sure I am doing this hippo justice tonight. And that's a drink. Okay. So, apparently my regulars who are creating a drinking game for my stream. And one of the things that is on the drinking game is you have to take a drink whenever I am in the parlance of the community, letting my jerk brain win. So a lot of drinking goes on. Down like here. Oh, line. Here. There we go. Yeah, sorry, I'm not super. And for those of you who are new around here, I'm not super entertaining as a streamer. Something I did not think about when I started doing this is that part of why I do art is because I find it a great form of moving meditation. It helps me focus and close out my mind. But the downside to that is it makes it a little difficult to remember that I'm supposed to also be engaging and entertaining on a live stream. Which, you know, not the greatest choices to make. These suck. I'm not happy with this at all. I need to redraw these books. These books are not in good shape. They're not well formed books. So I'm going to come back down here into this layer. I'm just going to clear them out. I'm going to resketch them. Let's resketch the books. Oh man, I wish I had known that for like the last 10 years. What, that you're supposed to be engaging? Because I feel like you do a pretty good job of that. Or that having me draw was a good way to shut me up. Is that what you were wishing you had known? There's probably a lot of people who wish they'd been like, man, if I had known I could just give you a box of crayons. Give you a box of crayons and you just disappear for 16 hours? Probably more than one former boss. Okay, so I'm just going to resketch in these books because I didn't feel like they fit in correctly. Like they were all kind of, that one's already doing it. Smushed. If I really wanted to do this right, I would grab the ruler tool and set one of these lines and just follow it over and over again. But sometimes perfection is bad too. Entertaining. Imagine where I could be if I were entertaining. I don't know that you have to be entertaining so much as engaging. I think I might have used the wrong word. You have to be engaging on the stream. And you're good at that. Of course, the way you get your engagement comes from the fact that you're reading a video game. You're much more engaging when you're playing unvoiced games. Because your voice acting is a form of audience entertainment engagement. I just haven't developed the work and talk skill. I'm pretty good at both working and talking. I have a hard time doing both at the same time still. That's a weakness in my streaming game. But I don't want to stop streaming because what I have found I really enjoy in this whole thing is the process of like collaborative art building. I like doing things and having you guys go, oh, draw this, draw that, add this. So I must have to develop the skill. Can't believe I've been doing this for what? August, September, October, November, December. Almost 6 months. 5 months. I still haven't gotten perfect at it yet. What the heck? Yeah, I really thought I have a lot of experience doing live webinar style streaming stuff. And I thought that would make me very good at streaming, but it is a different skill set entirely. Although it probably wouldn't be if I was just like, all right, we're streaming. Let's talk about the traits of a toxic leader. Oh man, which is something. I gotta tell you, it is a new year. It is a new year, and New Year always triggers that look back reflective part of my brain. That part of me that likes to navel gaze endlessly. And brings in the jerk brain quite a bit at the same time. So I have been spending the last week or so kind of beating myself up again. The way I do. You know, I am who I am. I'm got my issues. And it has a lot to do with like that stuff, that idea of like what content I make. That's what it always comes back to. There is a part of me that will never be comfortable with the idea of having permission to just make content to entertain and delight without it having some like greater message or value behind it. That's a little sad, I think, for myself. I go out of my way to tell people all the time, like, it's okay just to make stuff, but I also understand why there is this feeling that it's not. You know, the brain in our society has definitely, like, told us that it's not okay just to make stuff. You know? Like, it's okay to just have hobbies. They don't have to be side hustles. They don't have to be world-shattering insight, super genius world. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. They don't have to be super powerful. What did I do to this corner? Okay, these papers. Okay, that's what I just need to go here, here. Do not know what I did. This is changing my spatial reasoning is messing with me. Anyway, it's okay to make stuff just to make stuff. Like, it doesn't have to be anything. Let's stop thinking about 2024. What do you want to do in 2025? It's absolutely okay to make stuff just to make stuff. I think what I want to do in 2025, this is what I've settled on, is I would like to do I want to do like story time animations is what I think I want to do. I want to work on something in the actual animated world. I want to make some cartoons, some long form content. You keep in mind that you think you were making stuff just to make stuff, but someday that stuff is exactly what someone needs. I try to tell myself that all the time. That's a really good point. Thank you. What I think I want to do is so all of this actually has a positive aspect too. So I've been doing a lot of navel gazing and going, what do I want my thing to be? What is my field, my niche, my thing I bring to the table? And it's something I've had a hard time like figuring out and resonating, putting into words for myself, because I draw dumb little doodle cartoons, which is the genre I draw. Like that's what I draw. They're dumb cartoon doodle creatures. Like that's the genre. And then I go, how do I mix that? So like this is the challenge I often find myself facing. how do I mix my expertise with my art? Like, how do I bring that, reconcile those two things? I colored these in without meaning to. This is supposed to be line art layer. That's what I've been trying to figure out. And I think what I want to do is I want to do like those story time videos. And okay, so this is some inside baseball on if you watch enough YouTube, you understand this. I'm heavily inspired. I want to do something that's kind of like Tail Foundry meets Odd Ones Out. Or Jaden Animation. That's kind of my goal. That's what I want to do in 2025. Going forward, I want to make some cool stuff that tells stories and has that kind of emotional impact. I think as far as like the topics I want to cover, I think I want to cover the role that the media we consume and create has on us as people, like the impact of it has on us, and how to like kind of live with those things. So kind of a combination of mental health and media awareness is kind of the direction I want to go in. And I feel like I can use myself as a pretty good example a lot of the time. And somehow I'm going to frame all of that through the lens of the Daily Zombie. That's the goal. That's my 2025 content plan goal. I feel like that's a good way to keep making art and being an artist, while also utilizing some of the skills that I have spent a lifetime cultivating and kind of honestly often feel guilty for not utilizing. Sounds awesome. Thank you. It's when you sit down and you look on my skill set on paper, it's like, yeah, what exactly are you? My absolute favorite thing about working at the Department of Revenue was that I was allowed to basically work on just about anything I wanted to and cultivate any skill set I wanted to. But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily translate into a very practical list of skills. It's hard to put all of that into an algorithmically friendly niche. And it's something I have really honestly struggled the last year with, accepting that I do live in an algorithmically driven world. That is just the nature of the beast, and I have to live with it. So it's time for me to go. This is who I am, what I want to do. But it feels like it reaches a lot of my personal quests, so to speak, and also puts my skills to use in a way that might be beneficial in the long run to a lot of people, which is something that is apparently more important to me than I realized. But ultimately, one of the reasons I had to leave the Department of Revenue. I mean, if I'm being honest, like, I didn't feel like my contributions were creating positive value. And really, what I mean by that is I don't feel like the administration was allowing me to make contributions that created positive value. And I think I spent way too long trying to justify and excuse some things. Also, 10 years in one place. It's a long time. Of course, I was there 10 years. You've been there at least 10 years now. I think we started around the same time. So yeah, that's my goal is to make infotainment cartoons. Basically, I think part of it comes down to is I've been lamenting a lot lately that there is no Mr. Rogers anymore. And you know what? Sometimes when there is no more Mr. Rogers, it's time to be Mr. Rogers. I think often in government in general, not just at DOR, the focus is too much on getting a task done and not improving how things get done so that over time we do more. Yeah, that is definitely. I don't even necessarily want to say that's a government issue. I think that is a general like function of American culture. I think that our culture is very production oriented. Uh, we tend to focus on what can we get done. We're a society that likes to count widgets. 10 years was last March. That's well, congratulations on 10 years. That's a big deal. I'm just gonna black. I think that's I do. I generally think we have a culture that is very focused on productivity. I think that's why the idea of hustle culture is so dominant in the United States. Um, I think that's also a relatively new cultural thing. Like, I think it is not like within the last 100 years, relatively new. Um, I think if you went back to like the 1800s, that's not necessarily. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. But I feel like it's an industrial revolution kind of cultural change that we've had. And I think that culture is somewhat changing in fits and starts because the tech bros love to think of themselves as being the disruptors that find better ways to do things. But ultimately, they find a better way to do one specific thing and then give up on ever trying to improve anything else because that one thing brings in all the money, right? So possibly a nature of late stage capitalism, but I don't necessarily contribute it to capitalism as a cause so much as I think it is cultural. It's the same reason that so many people think they can't just like make a thing to make a thing. Like so many people feel bad about having a hobby just to have a hobby. We're so quick to try to monetize our hobbies. You know, it's the same kind of concept. It's the same hustle culture, just on the corporate world version of it. Uh, and I know, at least in the government agencies we were working for, and it's probably true of a lot of government agencies, there was more influence from kind of the corporate culture ideology, which I think has to do with the fact that so many employees at the Department of Revenue went to business school, right? Like accountants go to business school. So much of it was just that same ideology. I think that's one of the reasons that your team ruffled a lot of feathers, is because I'm pretty sure Bill was the only person at the Department of Revenue who went to school for like government administration and not business administration. And that made a difference. And then I'm just a person who is very lazy. And so finding ways to improve systems so that I don't have to do work is just natural for me. And the department was good about, when I did that, replacing the work that I had automated. Yeah, there are a lot of people who think that I'm crazy because by the time I left, I basically was working from home full time, working on like 2 hours a week worth of actual work and getting paid full time for it. Yeah, I heard. Yeah, he was leaving to go work at the county level when I left. He had already accepted that job, but he knew what was happening. Same thing. I can't imagine him having stayed anyway. I was genuinely surprised he hadn't retired a long time ago, but I could not imagine him staying on much longer. Uh, as let's put it, I'm gonna trying to be diplomatic and not mean. As unappreciated as I felt, I can imagine Bill felt 10 times that. I've seen the same project happen 3 times in my 10 years. So a lot of time it's not even replacing the work, it's just recycling it again. Yeah. Yeah, I could probably name those projects too. And it's the same project and nothing ever really changes because they don't want to commit to the changes that would actually make meaningful changes. Because if they did that, then things would change. Change is bad. Change is scary. Change might upset someone, and you don't want to upset someone. Yeah, I feel like when Patrick left, he pretty quickly got swept under the rug. Uh, yeah, I feel like some of that also a little bit like definitely when the administration changed. Um, and I'll tell you exactly what it was for me when my boss changed. Again, trying to be, these are people I like as people. I don't want to badmouth anyone. Just talk about my experience a little bit more candidly than I probably should. When my boss changed, um, we lost a very important and powerful advocate on our teams that kind of kept uh, us in the room when a lot of people didn't want us in the room. And she continued to be she continued to be a very powerful advocate for her team. But her team priorities changed. And as much as I genuinely care about the boss that replaced her as a friend and a person, um, in my opinion, and I have told him this before, he was very conflict avoidant, and I felt like a lot of the time his role was to placate me specifically because we were not being allowed in the room anymore. And my previous boss felt like her role was to get me in the room as often as possible, is what it felt like. I would say it's worse. In the same project, they spent a bunch on the second iteration bringing in outside consultants. By the third time, everyone just worked with these consultants, was no longer involved, and they basically backtracked because no one with any experience or formal training on the topic remained. Yeah. That sounds right. That sounds right. They tend to push the people that have that training out the door a lot of the time. It's my and that's not entirely fair. There is always the thing of yeah, there's a lot of this is my management and leadership background coming in again. There's a lot of the environment pushes people out because there is a culture to working in government. There's a culture to working in government that can be very different from other organizations. Like if you come from a corporate background and work in government, it's a whole different ballgame. Like it's a whole new world. And that's why it's always kind of funny to me when I hear people talk about like, oh, the CEO is going to come in and fix these problems, because it's a whole new ballgame. It's a different resource set. It's a different like way of handling strategic thought patterns and all that. One of the things that I think is a huge limitation to government is government employees are very poorly paid. And so it is hard to maintain a lot of really good talent because they can go and work in the private sector, and sometimes, depending on what part of the government they work in, what their specialty or expertise is in, make 4 or 5 times as much money. And so when you see someone who is both very good at their job and has worked in the government for a long time, that is a dedicated civil servant. But what that means is a lot of the time in situations like this one, like the one we're hinting at without actually openly discussing, a lot of the time people that get into the positions where they can actually do the things that need to be done, have the expertise and the knowledge to do them, come up against bureaucratic hurdles because like budgets are decided by congressional act. And at the same time, they also like won't stick around because those bureaucratic hurdles will frustrate them into going and looking for new jobs, and those new jobs will pay them way better. Like it would be hard for me to make the adjustment into like going to work for a corporation where if I came in with a plan and went, hey, here's a communications plan for how we're going to roll out this program, and they were like, okay, execute that, I'd be like, wait, you mean today? Like you don't need me to go through 50 oversight committee meetings and have a public hearing? And part of that, people will hear that. People who don't work in government will hear that and go, that's the red tape destroying government. But also, that's the red tape that keeps people from stealing all the government funds, right? Like, or pushing through initiatives that do not serve the people the way that we want them to. Like, there's a reason for those hearings. They're inefficient, but they have a purpose. Now, I will say, the organization I worked for was way too into the idea of like consensus project management. So we had way too many meetings and way too many stakeholders with decision power in a lot of the things we worked on. But I guess it's better to go one. The philosophy was it's better to go one way than to have everyone hate you for being a tyrant. But every administration has its own frustrations. Every job has its own frustrations. Ah, and I really I've been gone for a year, so I don't know what it's like there at all anymore. I know they still have a communications team, which is kind of surprising to me. I would agree it's less often people being forced out and more often people having completely leave when where they are at to continue their career progression and no system in place for retention or their experiences and knowledge. Definitely. This is actually a thing. So specifically at the Department of Revenue, this is a project I had consulted on. I was not on the team doing the work, and but I multiple people on the team came to me and asked me for my opinion. There was at the time I left a committee, like I don't think it was a formalized project, but there was a team working on career path ladder, like literally was working on employee retention. And my boss was on the team and the CIO was on the team. And I know I had conversations with both of them about that work. And one of the questions that they both came and asked me about was my thoughts on, like, if you're not familiar with government work, your pay in the government is decided by Congressional Budget Act. So, like, legislative agenda decides how much you get paid. So, like, there is no point where they can be like, we're going to pay people more to try to retain them, to build a better career path. So, like, they could not do that. That's not a thing that was ever on the table for them. So they came to me and they're like, besides pay, how do we get people to stay? How do we incentive? One of the things they specifically asked me was, how do they incentivize training, getting people to attend training? And I was like, unfortunately, in my opinion, and some would say expert opinion, you can't give people intrinsic motivation. Like, that's the very definition of intrinsic motivation. And so, like, a lot of what they were asking me for was like, how do we get people to do what you do and go out of your way to, like, take classes? And I was like, I take classes because I have unconscious or a conscious even, I have a compulsion to know everything there is to know. Like, I have a compulsion to be the smartest person in the room, and the only way I can do that is to continuously learn. I was like, that's intrinsic motivation. I was like, you can't just give someone that. Although I'm guessing, I don't advocate for psychological torture, but I would assume that my compulsive need to be the guy who knows everything comes from some sort of trauma response. And so maybe if you figured out what trauma caused me to have that trauma response, you could do that to people to force them to have that same compulsion. Okay, this is the line art for our Hippo nursing student done. But I was like, really, you have to give people advancement in their career. You have to show them some form of growth. And the people who came and talked to me and asked my opinion on those things agreed. They're like, yes, we need career ladders. But like literally no one else wanted to do career ladders. No one wanted the idea of having a senior and a junior, and like, that's 3 layers. You have a junior auditor, an auditor, and a senior auditor. That's 3 layers on a career ladder that gives people potential growth, especially if you take these trainings Thank you. That's I had to clean them up. I knew they were messed up. If you take these training classes, you can become a senior auditor. And what does a senior auditor do? Well, a senior auditor works on the most complicated audits. You know, and then maybe makes 4 cents an hour more. I didn't think anything ever would come of that because it was not something that I thought they were really vested in pursuing. To be completely honest, it was not something I thought that anyone was serious about based on who they put on the committee and who they put in charge of that committee. I think there's a little bit of blue tint in this hippopotamus. So I'm just going to rough in some flat colors and then add some shading. I keep all of my art pretty basic as far as like just keep a couple of layers of shading. This hippo has a pink neck and I want to get that in here. I'm looking at, I have a picture of a hippopotamus up on my screen. If anyone's curious, I'm drawing a hippo. It's a specific hippo I found in a Bing image search. And yes, I use Bing because Bing pays me roughly $5 a month in Amazon credits to use their search engine. That's my entire process. What color are a hippo's eyes? Can't really tell. They all look, oh, they're blue. Hippos have blue eyes. But it does not surprise me at all to find out nothing came of that. I would say, I hate to say it, but just like you were saying, you've done the same project 3 times. I think of the literally dozens of projects or committees or whatevers I was part of, like 5 of them ever actually did anything. I went to so many planning meetings that nothing came of at all whatsoever. Oh, and so a bit to do the toenails. All right, this is my Hippo Nurse colored. We just add some shade. Once I finish doing the shading on this Hippo Nurse, we will go back to the wheel. I will be doing random drawings off the wheel of suggestions and challenges. Currently, it is open for anyone. If you want to put a suggestion in the chat of something you would like to see me draw, I will add it to the wheel before I spin the wheel. The wheel is currently completely empty, so it's a good time to be coming in and adding your ideas to the wheel. Most of my live stream art streams are the wheel. It's audience generated prompts. I like the challenge of just doing random crap when I draw, not knowing what I'm going into. I like to pull things out of my butt. That's how I go about doing life. Again, I will reiterate, I am very good at helping other people plan their stuff, very bad at planning my own stuff. But usually about 1 week's worth of streams a month are dedicated to the Patreon stuff. Last week was I usually do them the 3rd week of the month. I did them the week of Christmas. So we are carrying over to this week because I did not do work on this project. On Christmas night, we just did some random Christmas character art. Not really related to anything. I just had some Christmassy prompts and put those together. What I'm doing right now with my shading is I like to do 80% gray on a layer, and then I switch it to multiply, and that's how I do my shading. I do a basic cell shading with a multiply layer. Do much D&D or role playing since you moved? Well, you know what? We have had an online game group that was meeting every week, and just life got in the way this summer, and we haven't picked back up. But I think at least 3 of us are in a place where we're like, yes, let's start playing D&D again. Let's get it going. But I haven't seen anything from the 4th person in our group yet. And here, crazy enough, I even got to actually be a player for most of the summer. But it looks like going forward, I'm back to being a perma DM, and y'all know how much I hate being a DM. Because it looks like the person who was running our game has had some health issues that make it very difficult for him to keep planning and putting together the game. So, long answer short, I played a little bit. I need to play more, and I'm hoping to be back into full-on running a game sometime in the very near future. It's an aspect of my life that I absolutely love. I love creating worlds. That was actually something else that was on my list of things that could potentially be what I do as a person, is talk about world building and creativity. And I actually went to create a YouTube channel like that a while back, actually before I left Department of Revenue, like 2 years ago even. And I ultimately didn't feel like I was able to. The test content I generated for it, I felt like I was not contributing enough originality to the market. And I had a lot of really great people that I appreciated and could point to and be like, here are great resources. So I decided that was not a field I wanted to focus on going forward, just because I didn't feel like I was necessarily contributing as much as I would like to. Okay. Here it is. Here is our nursing student hippopotamus. Those are some big books, Nursing Hippo. I just realized if this is a hippo-sized hippo, those books are ginormous books. It's very possible, though, that nursing students have to read books that big. I don't know. I've never studied any kind of medicine. Outside of how to manipulate the psychology of people around you. Although this is the book I've been working with today. It's called Discovering Your Purpose by Ivy Haley. It's a workbook that was in my book collection, and I do not know where this book came from. I don't know. I did not buy it, I don't think. I have no idea how I got it to come in, how it became part of my ownership, came into my possession. But it is a skill path publication for a self-study source book. So I'm going to have to assume that this was a textbook that my ex-wife had when she was in college. They got left with me. I have all of her textbooks. Or it's a pygmy hippo. Could be a pygmy hippo. All right. Let's bring up the wheel. I can show you there's nothing left on the wheel. The only thing, if you look at this wheel, the only thing actually on it, there we go. It's gonna reload. The only thing on it is Hippo goes to nursing school, which I just drew without actually spinning the wheel because I knew it was the only thing left on the wheel. So there is nothing currently on this wheel. So recommendations are completely open. Anybody who wants to add any recommended drawing ideas to the wheel, go ahead and put them in chat and I will add them to the wheel. In the meantime, I'm going to do something I've been meaning to do anyway, and change the art settings here from Christmas to not Christmas. I think I'm going to go with maybe we'll use it's January, so it's probably a little early still, but I don't really have a January Taco Viking variant. My only logo variant that kind of comes up this time of year is going to be the Valentine's Taco Viking variant. So there we go there. Go ahead and apply that. We go with Valentine's Viking. Sorry, so quiet, working on setting up chatbot to relay chats while watching. I wish I could remember what I suggested on stream the other night. Oh, me too, because I forgot to write it down. I'm a bad person. Did it have anything to do with a bubblegum gumdrop goblin? Because I could probably use more cute licky monster stickers. Oh, and I actually, one of the things I realized I was supposed to do today that I completely spaced on was pull up the transcript for last Wednesday's video so I can get the VOD to go live on YouTube. It's just sitting there in private mode, and I will have to do that after this stream, go into that transcript and work through it. So something I can always keep on here on the list. Happy New Year, zombie. I was literally getting ready to say something that can always go on the list is the 2 art challenges that I'm doing, which includes the daily zombie and the next 100 creature challenge creature. It might have, but I legitimately don't remember. I don't either. That's the problem. If I don't write it down immediately, and I knew I should, that's why I keep note cards on my desk. I knew I should have written it down immediately. I was pretty sure I was drawing a Gila monster at the time. So right now we're at a 50-50 split on those. Any other ideas that anybody wants to come up with, definitely can. And I actually kind of regretted it. I realized today I have done 356 zombies. God. Boop, 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 boop. I think that's right. Still scrolling. 356. So today's zombie was zombie 356. I've been, so today was 356 of the daily zombies, and I was going to, my plan was to finish out the year doing a like draw your original character in these 10 animation styles challenge. So I have 10 90s cartoons. Meditating Pangolin. I have these 10 90s cartoon styles that I've been drawing the zombie in. And I realized today, I was like, oh crap, it's New Year's and I'm still in the middle of this 10 thing. So I was like, I have this recess zombie. I should have drawn a New Year's Day zombie. Are you continuing Daily Zombie into 2025? Technically, Daily Zombie is not up with 365 days until like the 10th of January. Again, I'm 356, so I have 9 more days. So yeah, the 10th of January would be 365. I have no intention of giving up on Daily Zombie. I was thinking about it. I have considered it. I love drawing the Daily Zombie, and what I would actually think I'm going to do going forward is focus more on creating world building stuff with Daily Zombie, like going from just doing a Daily Zombie illustration to maybe making more slice of life style comics, maybe some 4-panel comics or short I've had a lot of fun doing the short videos. That's what it comes down to. The daily zombie videos are enjoyable, and I'm going to lean into that. I'm going to embrace that even further going forward. And I think one of my big projects for the year is I'm going to make a daily zombie coloring book. I said it. I'm making a daily zombie coloring and activity book. Okay, so there are 3 things currently on the list. Happy New Year, zombie, the next 100 creatures challenge creature, and meditating pangolin. So let's spin the wheel and see what we get. Spin, 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 spin the wheel, spin, spin, spin the wheel. I did record myself singing the Tailspin song
Meditating Pangolin
as a zombie, as daily zombie. Spin it, let's begin it when you're in it, and you spin it. My wheel does not actually let me upload a unique sound file the way I thought it did. So I was a little sad by that. I thought it did. I thought I was going to be able to do a custom file and have that zombie spin. Pangolin. I definitely need pangolin, or I know that a pangolin, I was proud of myself. I knew that a pangolin is the source creature for the Sand Slash and Sand Shrew in Pokemon. And that is all the more I know about pangolin. So meditating, that's all right. We're going to go back to our sketchy pink. They have little pointy faces and little stabby backs. So meditating. Were you thinking meditating like a Zen monk? Or meditating like yoga? What type of meditation are you thinking for your pangolin? I'm thinking like Buddhist style meditation. It's like little pangolin butt. Little pangolin chest. Widen that out a little bit more. They're kind of pointy, round creatures that I think originally like yoga because it would fit with the theme you were drawing the other night. Okay. So maybe they have little claw hands. These are weird looking animals. If you Google image search, it works as fine as far as I'm concerned. Okay. If you Google image search these guys, they're just weird little animals. They're like if you took an armadillo and gave it scale mail instead of plate mail. But also it's part anteater, and it has Wolverine claws. So, let's go claw hand there, and we'll have it doing this hand kind of pose, you know, like that. This is not going to be a very realistic animal, I don't think. I think this is going to be a little more on the cartoon side. So we have leg joint, come out to a knee, come out to a knee, come back together in the center. That. Oftentimes I will draw in a pose and then like refine the pose. When they stands up, their hands crossed in front of them like they're praying. Ooh. Hide the wheel, we can't see it. I always forget. I always forget to do the stupid wheel. Normally, Tricerabear is here to remind me. I don't know. I'm looking at one that is standing up, and it's more like, oh yeah, I gotta get my hand on those shiny new nuggets. I need to find a way to automate the wheel more. And then they have little tiny, like, they're very conical in their overall body shape, really. Like, their heads are very pointed. They kind of come back down like this. And they have long tongues. They're like part, like I said, they're part anteater, part armadillo with scale mail. That might be too long of it. So repoint this nose down. Probably doesn't need his tongue sticking out for the pose he's in. I do think one thing I want to do is I want to take these feet and have them coming forward instead of down. Like that. And then also this whole thing, I'm gonna come in here to the body here. And I think I'm just gonna make the whole body a little bit bigger in proportion to the limbs that I have drawn. So more like that. I think that's gonna be my rough pose there. I'm gonna clean that up a little bit and try to make it a little more pangolin. So we'll come up here and we'll grab a pointier pencil and start with the face. They definitely have. So it's these are such weird, cool animals. Because I'm seeing so many pieces of other animals like in their structure. Like I'm looking at a close up of the face now, and it's like it's got a little like mouse nose, but also on a snake face, if that makes sense to anyone other than me. That's what I'm seeing. Like that. Little nose that comes down like this. They definitely have side of the face eyes. And you know what? I'm gonna do a little cheating here. Symmetry tools coming on. I feel like this is a character that I feel like has perfect balance. So it's not entirely cheating to make it symmetrical. Not pointy enough. Not pointy enough there, nose. That. Then this eye would come up over here. This. How do I want these eyes to look? That's gonna be the brow line. And then little closed eyelids. And maybe if I give it a little, just a little like cheek bump there to imply smile. Like it's got a little Zen smile. Even though that is totally not how their faces are shaped. And just up around like this. And down. Now this close up, in this close up of this face that I'm looking at, you were talking about how their hands cross like they're praying. This one literally has its hands like folded down in front of its face, like a prayer position. I can see the prayer mode. Very praying mantis, which I think but this one is up on its back legs and its hands are totally just like holding its hands underneath of it like it's a little old man walking around worried. These are very great animals. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that this is a fun animal to draw. And then I'm going to move this arm up a little bit more. And bring that claw in. Bring it around. Definitely the picture I am looking at, I'm actually probably going to save this image of this pangolin walking around like a worried little old man, because it does, to me it looks like a little old man who's worried. Bigger hind legs. Although these guys literally have like little Snoopy feet. their front hands are clawed. Their front paws are clawed. Their hands are clawed. Their hind legs don't look like they're clawed. They look like turtle feet. Like maybe a little bit more like this. Then paws. Then paws. Go like that. That's our basic, our new pangolin shape. Come in here. Hip action. And then all of this is just going to be in the scale. Have little pointy scales. Little pointed scale mail armor on these dudes. These guys might very well be dragons. It comes down this side. They have little ear holes. That. The little scales that come down the side of their face, around the outside of their ears. A little plate. Fortunately, it looks like most of the scales are on their back and they don't really have scaly tummies. No, they definitely have scaly tummies too. I mean, these guys are armored up. The one I'm looking at is a baby doe having today off, baby. Forget the live. Baby pangolin don't have belly scales, but it looks like adult pangolin might have belly scales. I'm not going to draw belly scales. More scales than needs to be on this art. Transera Bear, how are you doing tonight? We finished up the nurse hippo. So that's on the, we're onto the wheel now. And I'm just drawing Paramin's meditating pangolin. And it's kind of trying to fluff it out here, put some scales on it. They are interesting animals. They're interesting looking animals. I'm gonna cheat some here. I think also their hind legs are actually kind of short. They have little stubby legs. So I'm looking at this, Paramin, I'm looking at this and going, this creature actually looks closer to what the turtle people, what are they? You know the ones I'm talking about. They look closer to that than they look like than turtles do. That's what I'm saying here. I would not want to mess with a pangolin, though. They definitely have Wolverine claws. Like, I don't mean, I mean like full on honey badger, don't give a claws. All right. This is the weirdest looking animal. People are gonna be like, what the heck were you drawing? I'll be like, he's a penguin. Pangolin. So here is what I'm observing, because there's a lot of baby pangolins on in this picture search. They start out life and their scales are very small. Like they must not, they like, and then they grow out their scales as they get older. So like a newborn baby has almost all pink, soft looking skin, kind of like a newborn baby mouse. They look very, very much like a baby mouse. Of course, I keep in my head, I think these are like, I keep telling myself these are lizards, but these are clearly mammals. And as they get older, those scale ridges get longer and longer and longer, and they get more and more and more of them. So the older a pangolin is, the more it has on its back. So, also there are definitely artists who have drawn really cute baby like pangolin cartoons. If you want cute, but we want Zen. Okay, but are the reference photos to scale? Okay, take a drink. Monk. Now he's Zen because he has marks on his head from the incense burns, from getting so Zen. All right, let's do inking. Oops, wrong pin set. There we go. Mapping. And I'm just going to continue to cheat and make him symmetrical. Not only does that give us a nice balanced symmetrical image, it means I only have to draw half as much art. As I'm drawing this, so this is the other reason I went ahead and said, okay, I'll do this as symmetrical. If I was not just doing this on the live stream, like I could see this as legitimately being a cool idea for a logo for like a spa or like meditation studio, yoga studio. Probably not my particular version. I would probably go more with one of these like classically like more round, cute, less realistic versions of the pangolin that I see a lot of these cartoon versions are. But I could see a meditating pangolin making a good logo for like a yoga studio type place. A spiritual studio in the American Southwest, perhaps. And if I was doing that, I would do it in, well, these days I would do it in Affinity Designer. Balance is Zen. That's right. But if I was doing it a year ago, I would have done it in Adobe Illustrator. And really just do the full symmetrical design. And very simple minimalist design probably also. Because this is a creature that I think would make a good logo creature. So if you're watching this stream and you're thinking about opening your own yoga studio / meditation studio somewhere in the American Southwest, perhaps, reach out to me and let's work on a desert slicey monster logo design for you. I've done a lot of logo work in my life. Some of it even halfway decent. if I'm being completely honest, the Taco Viking logo that I'm currently using as like my avatar on social media or even on this Twitch channel is by far probably, in my opinion, the best logo design I've done. Talk about projects that get done every few years, though. We were talking about repeating the same projects over and over and not really ever changing anything. One of the things that I have worked on dozens and dozens of times, not dozens and dozens, 3 times, at least 3 times, was a rebranding packet for the Department of Revenue. Actually, and that's not even, I have worked on 3 separate rebranding initiatives, but each of those rebranding initiatives had at least 2 or 3 branding packets put together for them. So I have literally drawn probably 5 or 6 Department of Revenue logos. And in addition to the ones I've drawn, other people working on my team have drawn probably a dozen more. And it's one of those things, you work on a project like that, and the only thing anybody wants you to do is go back to the way it was before. It's like, why don't we go back to the old logo? And every time you work on that project, someone will be like, why don't we go back to the old logo? And I've worked on branding packets for multiple online services that never. And here's an actual truth. I have never designed a logo for any of those projects that was chosen. None of my work was ever chosen. Here's hoping everything is working. I won't be able to test it to be sure until I stream later. Right? Because you have to be live on both platforms for it to really test. I hope it is working for you too. Partially because if you get it working and I get a computer that's not a potato, then I can just steal your settings and do the same thing at a later date. Because I do think, as much as I feel like there's more potential audience for my stuff on Twitch, there were some people that only watched me on YouTube when I was live. And I miss them. Like, I might have tapped out the entire market over there, but I tapped them all out. They were mine. And here is something I realized. I like my current schedule. It works really well for me. Unfortunately, I have made a mistake in my scheduling that will make it hard for me to grow in this particular niche on Twitch in these particular time zones. I stream at the same time as Drawfee on Mondays. And if you're not familiar with Drawfee, they are like the largest art tube channel out there in general. They have almost 2 million subs. Be careful not to cross the streams. And then on Wednesdays, I stream at the same time that 2 of the members of Drawfee stream Secret Sleepover Society. So, there are a lot of people to potentially watch my content on Twitch, but they're probably also mostly watching Drawfee at the same time I'm drawing. That's okay. That happens. Hopefully I didn't just lose all of that art when Fresco froze up. Not all of it, just some of it. That's fine. That is the downside to having the cheapest possible iPad. I hope when people see that happen to me in my stream, they don't blame Adobe Fresco or Apple as much as I like to blame Apple for most of the world's problems. I am using a pretty low-end iPad and working in pretty high-end vector art files. And yeah, vector SVG is a much smaller file when you export it as an SVG, but the PSD file that I'm actually working in to create those vector images gets pretty dang huge, especially when you're doing an 8K or 4K image. Also, I can't test it myself because if I set it up correctly, it ignores anything that any of my bots say in chat. Yeah, but you could go in to your chat on a separate browser as a different YouTube account, which takes like 2 seconds to set up if you haven't already set it up or have one set up, and chat and have it relay those. Twitch would be harder because Twitch is harder for that specific thing, but you could test it if you were live. Or, like I said, at 10:30, I can jump in on both the at 10 o'clock. I can jump in on both your Twitch stream and your YouTube stream to just chat and help you out that way. So I probably am not going to have time. It is 9 o'clock already. Holy cow. Probably not going to have time tonight to draw a New Year's zombie, which is sad. Like I said, I did not even think to draw one this year. Although, being completely honest, I shared a thing on Instagram. I probably should have shared it on TikTok. TikTok really wants me to share more images, and every time I do, I gain like 5 more TikTok followers, which is nice for the couple weeks left until TikTok goes away. But I shared like an art year in review image on Instagram where it was just my 12 favorite pictures from the year, one from each month. And in that post, I was talking about like, I've been real low energy and feeling kind of crummy. So I kind of just took today offish. Like I worked on stuff, but not a lot. And I took it very slow on the things I was working on. Mostly I worked on creating the logo for the January Patreon theme, which is actually the rhinoceros from the art print. I'm not too concerned. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work and it basically the same as it's always been. Oh, I'm sorry. I made you cry that I'm not going to draw a New Year's zombie. It would just be Daily Zombie going, Happy New Year's. I'm a baby and an old man. I wear a diaper. I'm not on Twitch often, so I gave Paramin some bonus puns along with my free Prime sub. Yeah, he gets my free Prime sub too. Maybe someday I'll be able to get a free Prime sub from someone and make that $3 a month. Tasty $3 a month. honestly, I don't stream in hopes of really ever becoming a big name streamer. A lot of my streaming is primarily mental health related these days. I always feel better after a stream than I do when I don't stream. And also, the VODs get a couple of views on YouTube. Sometimes they even get a couple of views on Instagram or on Twitch. Instagram. No one watches videos on Instagram anymore. But I will have to learn to be a lot more engaging before I could ever really, really grow. Better me than Bezos, right? That's right. Darn tootin'. Well, and like I said, I used to, when I subscribed at higher levels because I had more money, I used to say it all the time, like, I watch your stream more often than I watch most other streaming services I have. Although, not as much lately because you stream later at night now, and I go to bed early now because I'm old. So like, it didn't bother me at all to drop $10 for easily as many hours of entertainment as I was getting for $16 from Netflix. Again, though, the good thing is I'm doing this symmetrical because, you know, balance and Zen. But because of that, I only have to draw half a pangolin. And that makes it easier to get more done faster. Maybe that's the key. Maybe it's the key to my art in 2025. Everything I draw is going to be symmetrical, so that I only have to draw half of it. I can draw twice as much. I'm sure that won't get boring at all. Have nice, highly dynamic, symmetric art. I do still think it works though for this particular thing. Like, sometimes you can just get away with symmetry. A lot of the times it's cheating. Sometimes you can get away with it. And honestly, a lot of the time it doesn't look good. As much as I love symmetry in a lot of the things, like if I'm designing a room, I prefer symmetrical design. But honestly, from a pure design perspective, symmetrical design ironically isn't always balanced. And no, that's not necessarily true for an illustration like this, because you don't have to deal with a lot of weight hierarchy in an illustration. Now, who wants to hear me nerd out about graphic design for a second? A lot of what makes good design actually comes down to element balance. And for a lot of people, myself included, for a long time, like, I didn't fully understand how elements could be weighted in the various ways that they are. Like, when you talk about balance, it's not just necessarily size, but like impact and drawing the eye. Make like three little things in each piece not symmetrical and then post them on as a final and different time. Oh, okay. That's actually not a whole horribly bad idea. Go into every piece of art you have and modify a couple of pieces to be slightly less perfect so that people don't know it's AI. What? That could actually be fun. Just be like, there are 3 parts of this picture that are not symmetrical. Can you spot them? See who can. That could be some good engagement. That might hack the algo. Get that algorithm working for me. Pump those tubes my way. But I'm just now starting to understand compositional design principles. You would think, having worked as a web designer, I would have a better grasp of compositional design principles. But honestly, a lot of my time as a web designer, I was just copying what other people did that worked. Or I would make something that looked pretty okay, like mediocre okay, and someone else would come in and be like, all right, it is my turn to work on this. I'm going to make this look good. And then they would take my decent work and make it look good. That was another big part of what I did. I'm sure they would blow up and also drive up searches of the definition of symmetrical. That's possible. I unfortunately feel like that there's a really good chance that the people who watch videos on TikTok do not know what the word symmetry is. Means. I have to admit though, the more time I spend on TikTok, the more it grows on me. Partially because I'm slowly rotting my own brain to the point of where I think TikTok is a good thing, but also because it is showing me more and more long form video. Now long form video on TikTok is like 3 to 5 minutes, but honestly, a 3 to 5 minute vertical video works well for, in my opinion. Whereas I feel like anything longer than that, I want to sit down, probably even pull up on my TV, and that's what YouTube is for. But one of the changes that YouTube is making in 2025, a feature that they'll be rolling out, they are going to roll out longer duration shorts, up to 5 minutes. And I actually feel like, because I've gotten kind of used to working in the vertical format on my little cartoon things, that would be a good duration for me. I like to put a little storytelling into my work. I've been redoing the Suitness 100 Creatures Challenge and really trying to like embrace the folklore of it and not just be a guy who's drawing a fairy the same way everyone draws fairies, because we all have been brainwashed into what we think a fairy looks like. And a 5-minute video would be about perfect to dive into some rudimentary folklore creatures. Like, that would be a good sweet spot if you were wanting to do some creatures on. Did you see that Will Wheaton is coming to our local convention in February? I did not. Is that Mid-Missouri Comic-Con? Because if I can come up with about $400 in the next few weeks, I might have a table at Mid-Missouri Comic-Con. I've put in my application. If I get approved, I will come up with that money no matter what. Like, I'll figure a way out. But I've applied to have a table at Mid-Missouri Comic-Con. Okay. I don't think Vision Con is in February anymore. I think they moved it to the fall, if memory serves me correctly. But whenever people ask me about going to cons, they ask me if that's one I applied for, and I'm like, no. I worked that con too many years to ever want to go back and deal with those people again. But I feel like if I get approved for a table at the Missouri Comic Con, like the $465 for that table, I will make that back easily. So even if I have to like pay for that by taking out an advance on my credit cards or a payday loan, I will do it. So here's hoping I get approved. I applied. Here's hoping I get in. I have been told by some other artists that it's really competitive. Since I will probably never go to Planet Comic Con again, I may go to this one this year. Are you just done with large crowds at Planet Comic Con? Is that what it is? Or is there something beyond that that I don't know about that makes you not want to go to Planet Comic Con? Or is it just because the monkey no longer wants to take you with her? Because I kind of thought that was a con that you and the monkey went to together. The monkey is my niece, for anyone who's curious as to who I'm talking about. Perriman's child, offspring. His eldest spawn. You know, I think that would make a good birthday card, like for a parent to give to their child. To my eldest spawn. Happy spawning day. About this time last year, I did a birthday card that I never published because I didn't like the art, the way the art turned out. I should probably give it a new go. I'll probably give it a go. It's one of the reasons that I really spent a lot of time working on anatomy perspective this year. It was basically, the idea was it was like a chest burster coming out of a person, and then it was like happy spawning day. There are people who run Planet Comic Con or garbage people. Okay. Yeah, I don't know anything about it. I went to Planet Comic Con once, maybe twice. Twice, because I went to it its very first year when it was just a little con in Kansas. In 2010, I think it was 2011, maybe. And met the kid who plays young Anakin Skywalker when he was still very much in his very bitter, like angry phase. I did not pay to meet him. I did not wait in line to meet him. I just met him. And then the only other time I've ever been to a Planet Comic Con was when we went and met George Takei. One of the Wizard World cons I worked had all the Star Trek Next Gen crew except Will Wheaton and Patrick Stewart. I got LeVar Burton's autograph, but I spoke gibberish. When we met George Takei, we had a choice basically of waiting in his line or getting into Will Wheaton's line. They were both there and they were both next to each other. And their lines were about the same length, and we knew we could probably only get to beat one of them at that con. And we decided to get into George Takei's line because we figured we would more likely have another opportunity to meet Will Wheaton than to have another opportunity to meet George Takei. That being said, he's gonna live forever at this point, I'm pretty sure. So, might have made the wrong choice. They screwed everyone over who didn't pay for the Fast Pass last year, and we will never go back because of it. We purchased tickets 6 months in advance, then stood in line for 3 hours before the con opened, only to find out that once you were in, the lines for autograph were already closed to anyone who didn't pay for the fast passes. So we paid $100 for a ticket that allowed us to spend money at booths, and that was basically it. That is garbage. I agree. That's bad behavior. Um well, if I get into into the Missouri Comic-Con, I will have 2 passes, I think, with my booth. So if I get in, you could probably use one of my vendor passes to get in, come hang out with me for the day. But I will be there working. I probably won't be able to attend it as a con goer. If I don't get in, I probably still won't be able to attend it as a con goer because I don't have money. So sad I lost my autograph photo during a move a few years ago. I'm sad too. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure where my autograph photo is right now. I would have to look for it. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was gone too, because so many of the things that were important to me that I was like, this has to make the move, still somehow did not make the move. But I will be looking for it here soonish, because as we start to remodel the office, I will start decorating out here in my decorations. Especially now that a lot of the stuff that was out here on the shelves behind me, the shelves behind me are starting to empty out. A lot of the stuff that was living out here is going into the room that we are just finishing building. And then we'll do the remodel out here, and I will redecorate in here and put a lot of that stuff up on the wall behind my stream setup. So that photo, if I find that photo, and I really, really hope I do, that photo and Fat Chocobo will go up behind me while I'm streaming. They'll go up behind my recording setup. Fat Chocobo is my spirit animal. And fortunately, Fat Chocobo is still in the frame right over here, leaned up against the wall. It's just waiting to get hung. Hung. Waiting to get put up. But I've missed having Fat Chocobo. Wizard World is how I got photos with Matt Smith and John Barrowman. I have never had my photo taken with a celebrity. I've done some meet and greets and done some like waiting in line to buy a photo and having them sign it. But I've never done the get a photo picture taken with them thing. I realized not too long ago that there's not a lot of pictures of me in general. I've been actively trying to take more selfies because I'm not well documented visually as a person. Man, I'm gonna have to get a step on if I'm going to finish this pangolin before 10 o'clock. They have so many scales. Why did I decide to draw in all of these scales? I could have just implied scales. Honestly though, like let's face it, Scales is where it's at. The last time I went to Wizard World was amazing. Drunk King Hodder hit on my wife, and she got a hug from Charisma Carpenter, who nearly cried because my wife said, "Thank you for just being you." Is that the one that's in Tulsa? Is that the convention that's in Tulsa? I was so one of the things that is sad about Montana, and it's not really, this is not true about all of Montana. Helena is just kind of in a bad, there's no real good convention centers in Helena. It's a thing that I have actually griped about for years. So all of the conventions were like several hours away from me the entire time I was there. And I never got to go to any. So I haven't gone to any conventions really in probably 10 years. 12 years maybe even this point. 11, at least 11, because it would have been the one I went to, like the one where we met George Takei, I think was the summer right before I moved to Montana. Yeah, if you live in like Missoula or Billings or Bozeman, they have conventions in those cities. Just not Helena. In fact, even we hosted, while I was working at the Department of Revenue, we hosted a industry convention for state tax administrators, and we had to host it in Missoula because there's no place in Helena to host it. They're all over. Oh yeah, that's I knew that. It's like the Planet Comic Con. Planet Comic Con is actually a series of conventions. So when we say Planet Comic Con, we mean Planet Comic Con Kansas City. But they're actually also all over the country. I did one in Kentucky. I've done Austin, Chicago, and Philadelphia. Someday, someday I might do a bunch of cons like that because I'll be doing artist stuff at them. I may have done others, but it's been quite a few years. That's a long-term goal of mine, is I would like to do appearances at conventions, not just like have a table in the artist alley or the merch area, but like actually do appearances. Um, Something I'm not afraid to admit is that I would like to be somewhat well known for doing the things I do. Like, that's it's a little difficult sometimes for me to be okay with that aspect of myself, but it's something I've decided I'm going to be okay with admitting, is that yes, I want to make the dumpster fire of our world a little bit cozier. Um, but also I want to make sure people know I'm doing it. I want credit for my work. That's a thing that I have decided lately is actually important to me. I want credit for my work. I've done a lot of work for which I did not get credit. And I'm done with that. So, yeah, I would like to be a little bit famous. Not super famous. I don't need to be a super rock star. I just want to be able to go in certain circles. People will be like, "You don't know who that is?" That's the level of fame I want. Um, my friend had a weapons booth and was trying to make a full business out of it. I was on board for a while, but they eventually ended it. I loved working the cons. I my experience working cons was always kind of rudimentary. Um I had I had a friend who was a snake oil salesperson. They lived like, honestly, they made their own like nutrition supplements out of like dried herbs, and they referred, like, the name of their brand was snake oil. It's like they were a snake oil salesperson. Um and I had worked Vision Con a couple of times helping their booth. And before I was ever really in charge of anything, Eldorinth had a booth at Vision Con. And that's my experience working con. So like I didn't really have a responsibility for that booth. We just had one that played a video on repeat. I think I told you how Spike was next to us at one con. You might have. I don't know that I remember that story if you did. I'm a little afraid to hear it because I'm afraid to find out that James Marsters is actually a douche. I've seen him on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast enough to be like, this guy could either be really cool or he could be really douchey, and I can't tell just from these interviews. And I'm kind of afraid to find out for sure. Although I will say, Rollivan is a fan of using the Cameo app to do gifts for people. And he did a cameo with James Marster. He's great. Okay, I'm glad. Rollivan got his wife a cameo from James Marsters, and it was very sweet and well done. Um, although that being said, he got one for me from Nicholas Brendan that was very nice and heartwarming. And we all know that Nikki Brendan has his problems. Of course, that actually added to the value of that because he got it for me because I was dealing with mental health stuff. And the cameo, like, Nicholas Brendan literally talks about how he deals with mental health stuff. So it was kind of extra nice that way. But he's got stuff that he's working on. All right, we have some line art ish here. It's 9:36. I'm going to try something here. Unfortunately, here is a thing that is unfortunately true about the symmetry tool in Fresco. The fill tool does not work symmetrically. So as I've been doing this line art and leaving these gaps, I've been filling them in on the side that I was drawing on over here, but that means that none of this other side got filled in. I don't remember if I mentioned, I read somewhere that he struggled with acting forceful as Spike. He doesn't like abuse. That is something I've actually seen him talk about in interviews. I'm going to try to take a little bit of a shortcut, and we're going to see how it works. So all I'm doing right now, the selection tool does work symmetrically. So, although I've never tried using the magic wand selection tool, so we'll see if that works. What I'm doing is I'm selecting everything that's not the line inside the line art, and then we'll do an invert selection and fill and see if I can't get all that line art filled in all at once. He got a lot of bad press during the whole Whedon fiasco because he admitted that he was completely oblivious to everything that was going on at the time, and initially bashed Joss until he learned what a bunch of people he cared about went through. Okay, that makes sense. That's something. There is a book, if you haven't read it, there's a book called Every Generation, and it is a behind the scenes, like a investigative journalist doing a behind the scenes about working for Joss Whedon. The Buffy verse, it was Buffy and Angel, and it came about he started working on the book because of his friendship with Charisma Carpenter, and he actually started working on the book before everything else came out, right? And it's the only, to my knowledge, his interview with Sarah Michelle Gellar in that book is the only time she's candidly spoken about everything. It's a good audiobook also if you want to check it out. I highly recommend it. And that's in that book. Anthony Stewart Head, Tony Head, talks about his shame that he felt over the whole thing, because, and it's kind of a thing that he and James Marsters both kind of experienced, because they were older. Like especially Anthony Stewart Head himself was like, his role that he always thought his role on the show or in the cast was similar to his role on the show. He was like, I'm the adult, I'm supposed to be mentoring and guiding these younger actors and kind of looking out for them and helping them and protecting them. And he's like, and then I found out I didn't know any of this stuff was going on, and they were all hurting, and I basically failed in the one role I thought I was doing well in, as far as like real life being part of their lives. I've also seen enough interviews with James Marsters talking about his experience to know that some of that was also a little bit, he was very afraid of Joss Whedon. That book is also where I found out that, like, if you ever want to work on a TV show and you need someone, if you're making a TV show and you just need an actress that is just a natural born leader who will whip the cast into shape, apparently Sarah Michelle Gellar is your person. Like, apparently she is a super workhorse in the acting world. And she attributes that to the fact that she like started out making soap operas when she was a child, and soap operas make like 8 episodes a week. Come on, Pelican. Let's do this. Do it to it. Get it done. Almost there. I just wasted all this time because I realized this is not going to work. Inversely. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. I was like, this isn't going to work. I screwed this up. All right. It's fine. It's fine. Should have done it this way from the beginning. Pain in my booty. This is why I draw dudes without a lot of detail. I draw little dudes. Clearly I have balance issues of my own between too much detail and not enough detail. I have cultivated my art style in a way that generally avoids this, but I am okay with it. I think these little scales look too good for me to regret the time I spent drawing them. I am happy with how they are looking. The time sync is acceptable. This is one of those things, talking about like the weird ways we accept we see productivity and stuff in our culture. It took me a long time like to figure out why other illustrators talk about how fast I draw. Because to me, there is always a ticking clock in my head to produce a piece. You've got this. You're working your way to fame and fortune, fame and fandom. Thank you. Anytime I'm working on anything, and I mean anything I'm working on, there is a ticking clock inside my head, measuring the amount of time I spend on it. And the more time I spend on a task, the louder it bangs that ticks inside my head. So I begin pushing myself to work faster and faster. And that's not always good for art. That being said, part of why I pushed myself to do so many art pieces, and this is why I'm trying to like cut back on what I do, how much I do this year. I'm gonna try to focus in on quality over quantity in the next year. That said, I feel like I'm in a place where I can focus on quality over quantity because I've drawn so much that I've developed the skills I needed to be more quality than what I had before. Like, there is also something to be said for art practice is practice, and you got to put the miles on the pencil. And so, in a lot of ways, I had a very productive, very prolific year of drawing a lot of illustrations. And that helped me get to a place where this next year I can focus on maybe taking all those lessons I learned and doing more with a few illustrations. But also I will never not have that ticking clock. It's just part of who I am. Again, just probably some childhood trauma that causes that. I don't really know what it would be. I haven't ever analyzed myself enough to figure that out. But a part of my personality. And that's something I actively worked on in therapy actually for a while. I had this thing where I used to always pride myself on the fact that if I left a job, they had to hire multiple people to replace me. And I worked with my therapist to realize that that's not necessarily healthy. Because I was constantly working myself to death. And also, because it's not how capitalism should work. I basically went to therapy to learn how to quiet quit. And then once I did, I didn't like having my job anymore, basically is what happened. I work myself to death because I like working myself to death, I think is part of the thing. But as I was doing like today I posted my 12 favorite pieces I did in 2024, and I realized that my favorite pieces of each month were ones that I spent an extra amount of time on, doing a lot of different things, adding layers and development to them, beyond my normal illustration. And that's really, once July hit, that became the Patreon print, because I put way more time and effort into Patreon. You were putting the kids to bed. What did you miss? I don't know. How long ago did you start putting the kids to bed? We talked about going to cons and meeting James Marsters, and then me expressing my fear of learning that he's a jerk, and having people reassure me that he's actually a pretty cool guy. I then had an attempt to do the line art in a super fast way that didn't work out the way I thought it might, and I figured it out that it wasn't going to pretty early on. And then I started talking about how I need to accept that it's okay to be slow sometimes, because my major trauma is the ticking clock in my head that says get a task done. I have definitely internalized that kind of hustle culture. And it took me a long time. I think what I internalized was this idea that if I did the most things, I would get a reward. Like they would treat me like it was what made me important or valuable. And again, I don't know where that came from, but it did come from somewhere. And I had to unlearn that. But I still have this clock in my head that says go faster, go faster. So I'm almost done with this dude. I'm trying to finish him before 10 o'clock. Ah. Okay. I think, yes. Oh, nope. I was gonna say, I think I got all of the stuff I need to do, but I did. I'm missing. I just trimmed that segment. It's going to delete the whole thing. I'm going to have to undo it, and that's going to take a second. Kind of froze it up. So what I did there was, without thinking, I tried to use the trim tool to get rid of this little extra line here on this finger. But because I've been using the fill tool, I've been filling everything in, that little extra line had become part of the big old shape. And so I was trying to calculate all of the points on where to trim that at. And that's a lot of math for my little iPad to do all at once. So yeah, you missed me rambling and drawing scale, or drawing in line art on scales, coloring them in. So not a whole lot. We will be ending the stream here in about 10 minutes or so. As soon as I finish this guy, we'll bring the stream to an end. So thanks for coming and hanging out. Thank you for stopping by. I will be back on Friday at 7 p.m. Central Time doing more doodles. If you want to contribute to the wheel, if you want to add suggestions to the wheel, you can add them in the chat or head over to the Discord to join the Discord, hang out with the cool kids in the Cool Kids Club, Taco Viking and Friends Discord server. There is specifically a suggestions channel for suggesting art prompts or challenges, anything like that. You know what? I know I can do this. I'm going to do this. So, apparently, by the way, the magic wand tool does not work with symmetry, but I know for a fact the lasso tool does. And that will make this a fast process to do these flags. Because I just have to highlight half of it. See, and that did both sides. So that makes life a little easier. If I use the fill tool, I will have to do each individual scale. But doing it this way, I should be able to highlight these sections that I want to do, and then just with one giant brush do them all very quickly. Make sure that's inside that line. And if you want to get your hands on the Resolution Stampede sticker pack or art print is still a work in process, but it's the rhinoceros from the logo. You can head over to patreon.com/talkingvikingstudios to join the Patreon. Patreon supporters get 5 to 6 stickers per month at the sticker club level, and art print club members get an 8x10 art print each month in addition to the stickers. So if you are a sticker collector who enjoys my art and would like to join support the channel, support Taco Viking Studios in its endeavor, highly recommend joining Patreon. Of course, if you would just like to have some Taco Viking art of your own to just have, you can head over to TacoVikingStudios.com, and all of my merch is there. All of my stickers that I sell. There's some t-shirts, posters, prints, a couple of coffee mugs. Probably gonna be more t-shirts in the near future because I just have been having a lot of what I just started out designing was meant to be t-shirts and just never fully ratified into that. So here's what I'm doing is I'm just gonna fill all of these in like so. And I colored outside the lines, but that's okay because we live in a digital world. And I'm a digital girl. So, oh man, taking a long time to erase. There we go. So the flat colors are there. Can we shade in 4 minutes? I think we can do it in 4 minutes. We'll do it the same way. We'll do it with the lasso select tool. Do a very simple, very fast, very quick, dirty sheeting. Quick and dirty sheeting. Quick and dirty sheeting live at twitch.tv/Taco Viking Studio. We've got all the quick and dirty shading action you want. Gray. Come and get it while it's hot. And of course, if you stick around for 3 more minutes, we will raid Paramon's live stream. He is playing Suikoden 3. I believe he's still playing Suikoden 3. Unfortunately, he live streams when I normally am like, I'm getting ready to go to bed. I'm old, and I don't like staying up past 10 o'clock anymore. But tonight I have, because I slacked off some today, I have some stuff I need to work on before I go to bed. So I'll probably hang out in the stream for a little while. Come on, come on, come on. And done. Done. There it is. There is our meditating. I doubt I've been saying this right the whole night. Pangolin. There is our meditating pangolin. It turned out pretty good if you ask me. I think if I had another hour or so to work on, sticker guy telling us to stick around. Thank you for the stream. I'll catch you later. Time for me to prep. Take care. See you in a few. If I had another hour to work on this as a design, I think I would add a little like meditation rock for him to be sitting on. I'm glad I got it finished before you had to take off. But again, thank you for coming and hanging out. I appreciate each and every one of you. I am the sticker guy. I have embraced my destiny. It is what people know me for, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with making stickers. They bring joy to people's lives. That's a thing that is a noble pursuit in any way, shape, or form. Any way you spanangle it. I'm basically stalling because Paramon just left the chat, which means he hasn't gone live yet, and I'm just waiting for his little icon to go green so we can raid the crap out of him at the end of the night here. But yeah, so we've got the meditating pangolin. Let's do a little review. Meditating pangolin and nursing school hippo. Things I learned today. Important things I learned. When you are in nursing school, you wear dark green scrubs to signify that you are a nurse in training. I learned that today. Have a good night. Come back and check us out again Friday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. That would be 6 p.m. if you live in the mountains, and 7 or 8 p.m. if you live on the East Coast, and 5 p.m. if you're getting nasty. For me, you're also a keychain and shirt guy. Yes, your shirt orders, one of them, it looks like it's already ready to ship. I came in so late. You did, you came in 3 hours into the stream. What's going on, Yeti Detective? How are you doing tonight? I hope you're having a wonderful evening. I guess Paramon's not going to log in fast enough, so maybe I'm just going to go ahead and end the stream here before I lose everybody. Stickers are a natural gateway to temporary tattoos. So, I know a company that makes temporary tattoos, print on demand. Or I could order a bunch of them and sell them at the market. I've thought about doing it because there is a kid who hangs out. Her mom bakes sourdough bread, and she hangs out at the market, and she's a little looking. She's looking for ways to be a little rebellious, and I think a temporary tattoo would help her out a lot. I am having a wonderful evening. I took my little baby to a fancy Italian restaurant for New Year's Day dinner. She said, "I love restaurant dada." I don't want to undermine your 2-year-old. Is it possible that she would say that about any restaurant? I'm not sure that she has the most discerning taste. But could. I could be wrong. She could have better taste than me. I don't have the most discerning tastes. I wouldn't trust me to pick a restaurant in New York City. I think she does legitimately love every restaurant. Oh. That's okay. You know what? In this life, you can be a hater or you can be a lover. And people who are enthusiastic and joyous about everything in the world have much better lives than those of us that constantly hate everything we encounter and want the world to end. But she never said, "I love restaurant dada" to me before today. Oh, there you go. There you go. That's a sentence that you might not ever hear again. You might have found her favorite restaurant for life. I hope so. I hope that it is. I hope it is her favorite restaurant forever. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, my thing hasn't gone green yet, but it is now telling me that Paramin is live on my phone. So we'll do that. The hippo is confident in their decision to go to nursing school. I was trying to give her compassionate eyes. That was the goal. The goal was compassionate eyes. I don't know that it actually did raid though. Oh, now it's gone green on my back end. Let's try raiding again. I can't type. I'm not spelling things right. It's because my iPad is sitting on top of my keyboard. Raid, darn you, raid. Can't just like click on this and raid him. I don't know why my raid command is not working. Why are you not working, raid command? Why are you not working? Oh, wait, I have a raid button. Here we go. I don't usually use the dashboard for Twitch. I use OBS. Raid! There we go. Now we're going. Get this party started. Oh, because I was using exclamation commands and their slash commands. Oh, okay. Here we go.